Whew. Okay. That was not a fun day. So let me set up the scenario for you. Here we go. Originally we booked our flights at 10:15 at night, leaving LA from our Panama Canal cruise. And the reason for this was, quite simply, it was $4,000 cheaper for the two of us to fly at that time of night than it was to fly at the 11 o'clock flight. And I figured, you know what? For 10 hours, I'll save $4,000. Smart move, right? So we booked shore excursions to do that would have took us till about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's not so bad. You get there around 4 o'clock into LAX, and then you only have 6 hours. You got to go through security, check in, all that fun stuff, get a bite to eat, and then get on the plane. Would have worked out perfectly. There's a wrinkle. There's a wrinkle in the plan, and the plan wrinkle is, quite simply, they canceled every shore excursion in LAX. You could not go to the beach, you could not go to the observatory, you could not go to Universal Studios, you could not go to Brahms Chinese Theater, Rodeo Drive, any of that. They were all canceled. And the reasoning behind that was not enough people signed up. So the ship was about 1,200 passengers on board, and I guess a lot of people were either jumping on other cruises, going back to LA so they don't need excursions, they live there or that area vicinity, and very few people were actually going to take a shore excursion, or their flights were earlier in the day. If you were flying into the United States, that cost difference wasn't there. So, but flying from Canada, I wanted that savings. So we end up taking the shuttle, and I was calling the day before to see if I could switch my flights to the earlier flight. And of course, I used my miles for this flight. And lo and behold, I have to call my miles place, not the airline, to change any flight. So I finally get a hold of them after an hour on hold, and they go, okay, let us see what the price difference is for you and things like that. And guess what? The whole system is down. They can't switch flights, they can't book me a new flight, they can't cancel my old flight, they can't do anything. So the guy on the phone says, well, why don't you just go first thing in the morning, because there's 2 earlier flights than yours, and ask to be put on standby. That way, if there's an empty seat in your class, we had business class seats, then they will just put you into the business class. I said, okay. 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm sitting there at the airport, and I've already been told, yeah, Air Canada hasn't had standby for years. They don't do that anymore. I'm going, well, why did the person on your phone line from your company say, yeah, I did it, and why don't I do it? Was that just because the system was down and they wanted to get me off the phone? Is that the reason? Because I think that was the reason. So here we are at 9 o'clock in the morning. Our flight doesn't leave until 13.5 hours later. And yeah, so I said, you know what? The heck with it. I'll call and I'll see, because I saw there were still some seats left on those. I'll call and I'll say, okay, is it working today? How much is it to change my flight? So I called in, and guess what? It was $5,000. It went up because there was only 2 seats left. And they knew they could upgrade people from the flight. So yeah, we ended up sitting from 9 o'clock in the morning until 5:30 when the ladies behind the ticket counter who saw us sitting there. By the way, if you ever go to LAX, you'll notice if you haven't gone through security yet, there's no place to sit. There's no restaurant. There's no nothing. In fact, I'm in Terminal 6. In order to get a sandwich and a pop, I had to walk all the way to Terminal 2 from the outsides of the building to get there because of construction. So an hour walk to get a sandwich and a pop because they had nothing in this terminal whatsoever. But the ladies finally took pity on us and let us go in and check our bags so we can at least go in to the main area. And you know, I'm not upset with the ladies at the counter or anything in LA. They were quite nice to us and that, but there was literally no place to sit anywhere in that place. Anywhere at all. Like one of the busiest airports in the world, and you can't sit. If you're an hour early for your flight and you can't check in, you got no place to sit. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, but that's the situation. So yeah, can you tell? I literally just walked in the house from my flight. It's 10 o'clock in the morning, and we left the ship at 7:30 yesterday morning. Whew. So as you can see, I'm a little bloodshot today. I'm a little tired. My stomach's a little upset with the junk food that we were eating, because that's all there was until we got into the terminal and finally had a half-decent meal. So would I do it again? Would I do that again? Would I spend more than 24 hours on one flight back to Canada that should take you 5.5 hours? Well, to save $4,000, I would. Absolutely.